Hello guys, welcome to RC Car Mods with RC Ninja here. How are you out there, all my moddies? I hope you're having a good day. Look, today it's not a modification day, but I need to do some maintenance on my 5050. I was out driving it yesterday and it's got this real looseness in the front differential, so we're going to have to take that apart and tighten it up. It might be something that you guys have come across and just not known how to do, so today we'll take you through how we fix it. So here we have my 5050 drifter, the HSP Flying Fish, I guess you can call it. It's got this real loose front wheel, or both sides. The front diff is very, very loose in the middle, so what we need to do is we need to go inside there and we need to tighten it up. You can see I've taken the cover off. Now look how loose this is. It should not have that much looseness, sludge, sloth, I guess, whatever you want to call it. It should not have that much looseness before we can actually get it turning. So as you can see there, horrible. Now what it does is when you're turning on a corner, what will happen is this one will continue to go, but your corner one will just tend to sit straight and almost act as an anchor. So when you're turning, your back end will get real loose and just drift its way around, which you don't want. Obviously you want a little bit of turn in here so it's not just totally gripping on the front end here. The whole idea of drift is to get loose and sideways and get it moving, you know, whichever way you want the car moving. But with this, and having it on that angle, it won't go. This wheel will just tend to stay loose, as you can see there, and it doesn't work. So what we need to do is we need to make this slightly tighter. It should have a little bit of give, but if we make it a little bit tighter, you know, it should just have about that much, but it's got, you know, all of that at the moment. We should be able to make it a little bit tighter, and that should fix the problem. So the first thing we have to do is take the diff apart. Now I've told you before, but a good idea is to put the screws back in where you took them out from, so you know where they go when you're putting it all back together. This is actually a weight I've put in the front here. Before we put it back on, actually, you might cut it out and stick it in here, but a bit more weight on the front. This thing is very weighty in the back, but a bit more weight in the front here should give it a little bit more drive and direction as it's going. So we might put that in properly later. We'll just have a quick look at these as well. Looks alright. That one looks alright as well. Shiny. So I'll put my grease mat down. You're going to need that when you undo this. There could be a lot of grease in there that could fall out. You know, everything gets dirty when you start drifting and everything outside or driving your RCs outside. So I've taken the diff all the way out. Here, as you can see, there is one final screw that we'll take out now. And we should be able to open it up very quickly. Alright. There we have. So here we go. You can see in there, there's a little bit of dirt in there as everything gets. I may clean that up a little bit. But what we're going to do is we're going to have to get into here, into this diff here. So the diff in here, you'll see it looks very similar to the other diff that's in the back. If you watch the Lock Your RC Drift RC diff video. You'll see that it looks very similar. There's some spider gears in here, so we'll quickly take this out. 4 screws here. So here you go, guys. Well done. As you can see, there's not a lot of grease in there, but it is very, very loose. Very loose. We need it to be stiffer. So what we do is we put a bit of a heavier weight. Now it's called a weight of the oil or the grease that you put in there. I don't have a bearing, or sorry, I don't have a gasket on mine. So I'm not actually going to go with the oil, but you can opt to go with oil as well. With the grease, it should do the same effect, but it shouldn't leak out the sides as much. The same on here, there's no gaskets on here, so I will put a little bit in here just to give it a little bit more stiffness. We're not going to pack it too tight, because if you do too tight then you're going to lock it, which you don't want to do in your front diff. In your rear diff you can use oil to lock your diff. You need a real solid or heavyweight oil to lock that. I recommend using the blue tack or the glue like I've done in my previous video. But for this one, what we're going to do is we're just going to use this grease here. Now, any grease should work. Any grease you get from your automotive store is a little bit cheaper. Go to your local hobby store, have a talk to them about what's the best one for you. I've used this one. This is from an automotive store. It's the Castrol. It's about a 90 weight. I picked this one up here because it's optimal at very high temperatures. So as you know, with your RCs, they can get very hot, and your gears can get very hot as well. So I've gone with one that's very good for the hot gears, and we'll put it in and we'll see how that goes. Go. As you can see, it is quite solid, it is quite thick, which is exactly what I was after. So now we'll put a little bit of this in here. We'll take the spider gear out, if I can get it out. Like I said, you don't want to fill it up too much. You can always go back later and add more in. Now we'll slide this back in there. A little bit more on the top. I can feel that already. That's going to be great. Quickly put this back on, screw it together. We'll see how it goes. Feel it already, that's great. So what we'll do is we'll put a little bit in here. More just a maintenance, rather than doing anything. A little bit in there. Slot this back in. The case on. Where'd that screw go? Here it is. And there you go, you've successfully tightened up your front differential. Look, I can feel it already. It's going to be fantastic. This is a general maintenance thing, so the reason why I bought such a large amount of grease was because this is something that I'm going to be doing very often. You know, just keep your grease nice and clean. It's going to make your car last a lot longer. and run a lot better. You can tune it, you can add more in there, you can add less in there, but that's turned out fantastic. We'll put it back on the car and we'll give it a drive. All back together now. As you can see, much less movement. I can even feel it being a little bit stiffer, so what's going to happen is that's going to work much better. Before we were getting so much turn. You should get a little bit, but not a whole heap. And the same here. Look at that. Brilliant. Now, one of the other things that I've learned is that I need to put a little bit of front weight on the front here. So what happens is the rear end was getting really loose. Like I can't add enough reallys in there. But what was happening, so it was really nice and tight at home on the home track, was nice and tight. But when I was on a larger track, what was happening was it was just getting way too loose because the front end wasn't pushing out with the rear end. So I needed to put a little bit more weight in the front here. So what I've done is I've got a couple of weights here. Pick them up from anywhere, you know. Sinkers also work. These are just some weights, you know, 7 grams each. So I've gone with, what's that, 42 grams on here. Okay. I did just stuff them up there before, but I thought quickly what I'll do is I'll cut that out. You can watch it in fast forward. We'll stick that in there and she should be ready. There you go, guys, some simple maintenance on your 50/50 when you're driving out on the road tracks, on the bitumen there. This is something you're going to have to constantly do. You're going to have to keep your maintenance up. It's very rough on those kind of things. Get onto the carpet if you like to keep it a little bit slower and a little bit safer. The weight in the front should give me a huge help with a larger turning circle, and this should help me on the tighter corners with my front wheel not acting as that anchor. Stupid anchors, but this is how you do it. Shout out if you want to see anything else. Thanks for watching. Here's some drifting.